everybody. Eric Wingman Peterson. It's a new year on Wingman's Hangar. Less fluff, more stuff. We got an all-new set. We're coming live. We got some new stuff happening for you. If you're new to the program, this is kind of an inside look at all things Star Citizen, the new epic space adventure by Chris Roberts. Let's just get right to it, shall we? We have the week in review. We have coverage of the big summit, the big production summit we did last week. And we have an interview with Ron LaJoie and Jack Ross to talk about what exactly went on at the summit and what we can do going forward from that. We also have forum feedback with your questions. So let's get right to it. What happened last week? Week in review, Next Great Starship debuted. Episode 1 has already happened and it's been huge. Kudos to Sandi for putting that together, and Chris and everybody else for Mark Skelton and Chris Olivier, Chris Smith and Sean Tracy. They put out an awesome epic show and you should check it out. And don't forget, you can vote for your favorites, wildcards. Check out the YouTube link, Robert Space End. Be there or be square. We got new hires this week. We got Billy Lord, Jack Ross, and David Jennison. 2 of them are character guys, and one of them is a production coordinator. We need them all. We're growing. We got to bring this epic adventure to you guys. And new Jump Point came out last Friday. If you're not a subscriber, you don't get to see this stuff. You might want to check it out. It's really, really fun, and Jump Point is done by David Letterman, and it's incredible, very informative. And of course, last week, we hosted the summit.
Hi everyone! I am here for the 2014 Cloud Imperium Games Development Summit. This week, teams from all of our offices are here to refine the process for the making of Star Citizen and Squadron 42. Chris Roberts and his teams have high hopes for this week.
Hey, there he is. How you doing, man? Welcome.
Oh, I can barely fit. How's Wingman's week?
Oh, it's not good, brother. Not good. Thank you for asking, though. Come on, give me a hug. Oh, good to see you, man.
All right, I'm Chris. How you doing? Nice, very nice to meet you. Squadron, we're going to be meeting in.
Yep.
Nice to have
Robert Space Industries.
guys, hey, Czar. Good to see you, man. How you doing?
Mr. Roberts, how are you, sir? Good to see you.
All right.
Some of you guys haven't met Chris.
Oh, good to see you, man. Wow, long time no see.
All right. James, right?
Yeah.
Very nice to meet you.
How's it going, Chuck?
I'm Kendra.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So I saw this. The idea of the summit that we're doing this all week long is to get everyone involved from around the world that's working on Star Citizen, and basically put the key leads in a room and discuss the aspects, all the different aspects, because it's a really hugely ambitious game that has a lot of different areas, from flying around in space to down on a planet to running around on foot, having gunfights, boarding ships.
First off, it's great coming out to Austin, because although myself and Derek and Nick and Phil went out to Los Angeles, met the Los Angeles team in October when we were basically working on the story side of it, and now we've obviously got a story that we're very happy with, and now we're proceeding with the development side in terms of breaking out what the missions are, what the scripts are for, that kind of stuff.
So let's go see what's happening in one of the meetings. Hey guys!
Hi.
What is going on in here?
This meeting's all about PBR and
how we're going to implement it and when we're going to implement it.
So part of the process is like these guys, Forrest and Nathan and the Austin lot, have been kind of spearheading a bit the process of transferring to PBR. So in this summit, we're trying to figure out what the other studios need to learn from you guys.
What our standard material library is going to be.
Yeah, so part of the whole thing is that everybody's building different components of the game, and we have to make sure that when they all come together, that it all makes sense.
We can find out all the interdependencies between the various areas, be it a planet side, first person, space combat, which we're now kind of referring to space, or the dogfighting module as people call it, but really seeing who has ownership of it, as well as what are the interdependencies between all the modules.
So it's midweek now. Let's check in and see how things are going with Development Summit Coordinator Ron LaJoie.
The first 2 days were very high level, and there were a lot of new things that came up. I crammed all the producers in a room last night for about 5 hours to schedule out the remainder of the week. There's a lot of stuff. Like I said, we could easily go another full week.
What is happening in here? Looks
We're-
very serious.
We're
Jason.
doing network prediction. We're talking so how to make the spaceships and the people work well across the network and be smooth.
But so you would send across just position and rotation updates and interpolate between them.
Since we're
Is it the
dispersed
only
as
bad
development
side of it?
all around the world, this allows us to get to know the person that's on the other side of that video conference in a personal manner, to where you can have, maybe you're a little more comfortable giving a little criticism to them and they're maybe a little more comfortable taking it.
When you think about just kind of sitting in a room and talking all day, it doesn't sound like a whole lot, but after 9 or 10 hours of discussing major features and kind of arguing back and forth about certain things, it takes a mental toll. It'll be well deserved at the end of the week to get some really good barbecue, kind of have everybody relax a little bit, a couple drinks, and just kind of get to know each other a little bit better.
It was a great gathering. We were all together working super hard. A lot was accomplished. I'm a bit tired now, but a lot was accomplished. That was the goal.
We had so many meetings to nail out some really important points, and I think now it's Friday. I feel accomplished, but I feel I could use another week. But that's gonna be business as usual when we go back on Monday for sure.
I mean, I thought it was really good. I mean, it was actually really good now that we've basically staffed up the groups to do every single aspect of the game, getting everybody together, sort of having a big overview, a big plan of how we're going to be tackling all the remaining tasks, and obviously there's a lot of remaining tasks, and also how we're going to sort of roll out parts of functionality to the community out there for them to actually play and test and give us feedback.
Each studio at this point has clear ownership of certain parts of the game. They're going to see it from beginning to end and make sure that everyone else is aligning to those standards. Clearly, we talk about very often how high our standard is. We're building ships to a level that nobody's done before. But one thing we don't have an entirely clear example of quite yet is, where is our bar exactly? How high is that bar? We're always we keep pushing up. This needs to be better, this needs to be better. So that's one of the things that came out this week, was that we're going to pick some small pieces and bring them as high as we possibly can until everyone is in agreement that this is our level, this is what we're shooting for.
It's really good because obviously Chris has the vision for the game, which is great, and obviously we're sort of working on the vision on the Squadron 42 side, but then obviously feeding a lot of stuff back to Chris and then coming back through, and what we're really trying to do is just really drive the process of getting moving the game forward as fast as possible, and then working with a bunch of because there's a huge amount of Cry experience in the rest of the organisation. We have some, but not enough, and so it's great picking up on that and then using that stuff to make us better. And then also, Chris probably knows as much as anyone about it because he's been working with it now for a few years as well.
Also, Squadron 42 has dogfighting elements, so they're going to assist on some areas of the dogfight, like the AI side of it, where we're going to focus more on the PvP side. And that's it. Dogfight, 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 dogfight.
After a long week like that, everybody was pretty exhausted, but it was incredibly productive. We have a clear goal that we're all going to march towards now. As big as it is, everyone came out of that very excited and ready to just get rolling on it all.
All right, since you saw that about the summit, let's get to two of the principals. Ron and Jake, we'll talk about, so you guys were at the summit. Ron, you pretty much chaired a lot of the events and helped do the schedule together. So,
absolutely.
What was the summit all about?
It was a week-long planning session, basically. Brought everybody together, all our studios, set everybody in a room, various rooms.
Right,
various meetings.
4 rooms, so to speak. 5.
And offices and random computers and desks. But it was a week-long planning session to make sure everybody knows exactly what we're doing, and it's clear to everybody, since we have, a lot of different studios working on this.
Right, and we don't want to have multiple people doing the same thing.
Right, exactly.
We don't step on toes.
Everybody's on the same page,
right. Are there
aware of what they're doing,
dependencies?
who the owners are,
exactly.
what we're marching towards.
So, did we get it all accomplished?
Not quite. We probably had another week's worth of stuff.
We made a huge dent, though.
We made a huge dent.
Right.
Definitely feel a lot better about the next year.
Yeah, it's going to be the next year. We've got a lot of work to do, and we can continue the planning from various locations.
Absolutely.
Especially now that we know the people that we've done it with.
Right.
You get to know them a little better, what their strengths are, what they can help, where they can help, things of that nature. Now, Jake, you started the first day of the summit. Was your first day?
That's right.
You're
That's
like
right.
Our new project coordinator, right? Your job is to go around and do what exactly?
So my job is to do whatever Ron tells me to do. But I go around and I make sure people are on task and following up on their tasks that they do.
The Jira tasks, right?
Yeah,
so,
Jira, right.
We use Jira for tasking and for tracking. And, it's tough when you're doing something and you just move from one thing to another or the next thing. Sometimes you might not select resolved on your JIRA ticket, and then somebody might be waiting for that ticket to come back, which turns them onto a task. And so your job, and one of the couple that's going to be here, is to poke people.
Exactly.
Right?
Lots of poking involved, lots of prodding, lots of trying to get people to do what they need to do.
Right, so nobody's annoyed at you yet.
Not yet.
Right.
I've only been here a little over a week now, but they'll get there.
So what was it like first week then?
It was tough. It was tough, but it was nice to get like a giant crash course on Star Citizen and everything that was involved. I compare it to I learned how to drive on my mom's big, huge, clunky blue Suburban. So I feel like any car I drive after that is pretty easy. So like it's got this huge summit thing coming out of that, and now I feel like it's going to be smooth sailing and on out, right?
All right. So Ron, where do we go from here? What's next for now that we've had this summit and we put our giant task list together specifically for the dogfighting module? What are we going to be? What are we expecting to see out of this now?
So basically, a high-level plan, which we're going to break down into specifics with everybody at every studio. There's still a lot to be done coming out of this summit. There's a lot of meetings that we still need to have, a lot of follow-up. And that high-level plan still needs to be put together and put in front of everybody's face.
Right, and we have one already at Star Citizen, but this is one where now we're encompassing, we just got Squadron 42 or the Foundry 42 guys.
A lot has changed.
We just got the other studios that we can talk about, some we can't, that are here. So we've got to find a way of coordinating them and where they fit into, like maybe there's other modules that might be out that we're not going to talk about right now. That so as we're building this piecemeal, and for the fans and citizens out there, they'll get a part of. So hey, and I want to thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate all the conversation and what all the work you guys did last week, and now it's time for us to jump into forum feedback. From Kiwi Pete, he asks, do you have a roadmap you can share? No dates or commitments, but the projects the entire team is working on and general sequence for development. I feel knowing this will give us an appreciation of the complexity involved in creating Star Citizen. Wow, Rob.
No commitments. I like the commitment part. That's really important. So really what it's about is that we have all of these different modules going in parallel right now. And it was a chance to mix the teams together and get everyone to see the big picture, which then gives us, sort of a look at how all those things relate to each other as far as people are doing things that other teams depend on. But we are doing, first-person shooter and dogfighting and persistent universe and all in the Hangar still even moving. All these in parallel. Wow, it's all coming together for the final project. So the roadmap
and Squadron 42 and the economy.
Exactly.
And all those
more
things.
and more.
Right,
exactly.
right. And we're doing those. That's why we are distributed, and this allows us to make sure that kind of allows us to get together. And so yes, we have a roadmap, and as things get closer, we will put stakes in the ground and say this is when we're coming out with that and things like that. So, is there any from player to up? Is there anything new you can talk about that came out of last week's summit?
It's not really anything new. I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel here. What we really had an opportunity to do now was to do a deep drill down on some of the tech and design and production of everything. And again, we talked about having this big picture that we're putting together and getting everyone to see it at the same time. But the other thing that Chris really gets out of this and that he wants to see out of the studios doing these independent paths is that we each have our own sense of ownership and our pride in ownership of these different systems. So you get better focus on each of the systems than you would if it were one big studio just trying to divide their work.
Oh, good. From Syntech, he says, what do you think was the most beneficial part of the summit in terms of moving towards the goal of release? What can you talk about?
What can we talk about?
What was the best part of the summit?
They're being very polite about it. What you can talk about.
Yeah,
so
I know.
They understand.
They understand that. Yeah,
it's good. I mean, certainly FaceTime. We have studios globally, right? So having people that are on your Skype and your email all the time and suddenly become faces and people that you're interacting with, that makes a big difference. And again, it's really all about having everybody getting the vision, sharing the vision together at the same time.
Yeah, and that's the part about FaceTime is it can't be overlooked, because the truth is when you're meeting with people on Skype or you send out an email, you can have this little barrier there between everybody, and so it seems like maybe you take things personal when really that's not what the intent was. So what this does is allows you to become friends. It allows you to get to know the person that you're talking to, and in those instances, you can maybe be a little critical or maybe be a little more direct, and they understand, and they take that as how it's intended, right? Because look, there's going to be situations where we need stuff done, and you don't have time to flowery it up, so to speak. All right, from Danny. How do you guys sort out conflicting thoughts about what awesomeness really means in the verse? See, there you go. What do we do when we have to sort something out when there's conflicting ideas?
That's a no-brainer. Ask Chris Roberts.
That is true. We do. Chris solves all conflicts. It's a judge of one. So from Sloppy Joe, has a decision been made about the planned release of Squadron 42? Will it be smaller episodes step by step, or will it be delivered in larger or bigger parts?
That's a good question.
That's a great question.
That's an excellent question. So one thing we did determine is just there's not really a good reason on a single player game to release alpha content.
Yeah, absolutely not.
It doesn't make much sense. Now in the persisting universe, sure, because you're really trying to iron out the kinks, but Squadron 42, it needs to be a polished product. So the current, and of course we always stress current development plan, is that we're going to, for our backers, we're going to release the content episodically. So you will get to see a piece at a time.
That's cool.
But we're not talking like, each one is a little mini adventure. It's still a big story. It's a big Chris Roberts style adventure that spans multiple episodes. So you will get to part of the way through, but it's not like we wrap it up and start a new story. It's to be continued. It's like an episode a week of a TV show.
Well, that's cool. So, but it won't be an episode
not a week.
Right.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
Okay. Good. So episodically is how we're going to release it to backers only, just to be clear.
Right.
From Star Killer, how do you keep in touch with so many different teams to make sure the wheels don't come off the starship? Are there wheels on all our starships?
Not all of them.
Yeah, that's true.
But some of them do have wheels.
True. How do we keep in touch?
There are so many different things. I mean, of course we had the summit. This is one of the things we determined. It's like, how can we really drive this production better? Well, let's have a summit. And now we're going to do those for some or all of those same people, probably every 3 months is what Chris was saying.
Smaller ones every 3 months or so.
And then some big ones, because we really need to keep the steerage going.
Right.
And then, I mean, the day-to-day activity, it's email constantly, Skype. Every single person in this office is on 5, 10 different Skype channels that are constantly in motion. We have a Skype channel about artisy or one about design, just, the things that I'm on, for instance, and then whole team and studio. And so, we're constantly talking to each other around the globe. And then we have a bunch of collaboration tools, too. I mean, we've got Jira, we've got Shotgun. It's all these ways that people can interact through software and get a look at each other's concepts or code or whatever. So.
Right. Well, there you go. That's good. From QLZ19, and I just want to go on record here, is I don't think I butchered anybody's name this week.
What?
Must be the set.
I should have pulled some harder names.
Please don't. What kind of stuff did you all do for fun over the time the teams got together?
Well, I mean, we had sort of interdiscipline or inter-company dinners each night.
And lunches.
Lunches, too.
Right,
so, if you were in a meeting, a lot of times that meeting just broke and went to lunch.
Right.
So we continued the communication, but with a little bit more of an air of, just building camaraderie, getting the team together. Then Friday, we had kind of a wrap party, if you will. Right. I mean, because it was a pretty grueling week.
It was, I mean, my wife was... are you going to be home at midnight every week, every night? And I'm like, yes, I am.
Could happen.
Yeah.
And then, some of us might have had a little more fun than others.
Ooh.
Never gets me very far. My car's a big piece of cause these shocks are shot. My seat belt is broken. Got too tight in a knot.
Here's Michael Morlan with this week's MVP.
I'm Michael Morlan sitting in for Ben Lesnick in this week's Most Valuable Post. This week's MVP goes to Czar for his post, Operation Pitchfork Special Report, A Forker's Tale. A member of Operation Pitchfork recounts the thrills of action with a pirate clan. discusses the challenges of working under the watchful eye of the UEE, and shares the features of his favorite ships. A special shout out to writer Night's Watch and character voice talent Mike Morlan. You've created this week's most valuable post.
Thanks, Mike. Good job. Can't wait to have Ben back in that spot, though. And now it's time for Fan Focus. This week's Fan Focus is from Shader Cool. I think I got that name right. And what Shader Cool has done is created some inside hangar or potential what the office or home would look like inside your hangar. He's created a couple bedroom suite. Look at that. Just incredible looking there. And of course we have the ship customization from the couch. Any hangar wouldn't be complete without that. And of course, what would any hangar be missing if it was not in there? The bathroom. Well done, Shader Cool. That's this week's Fan Focus. It's always great to see what the fans are up to when they take our assets and create some really, really cool stuff. Can't wait to see what he has next in store for us. Thanks a lot to subscribers and pledgers, particularly subscribers, for allowing us to bring together this cool set, this cool show. It's all because of you guys. Thanks to pledgers. Without you guys, none of us are here. That's a big help. Coming up next week, we have Jira tasking. Tasking? Did I say tasking? That's right. We have the Animation Summit with Brian Brewer, teaching mocap and cleanup on all the animation data. We are still hiring. If you're a really talented person out there that's a programmer, artist, and designer, send in your stuff to HR@. And of course, it wouldn't be the same without this week's Next Great Starship, Episode 2. Wow, I cannot wait to see that. I was very excited by the last one. I can't wait to see what's going on this week. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be the first to find out exactly what happens at Cloud Imperium. When we post a video up there, you'll be the first to know. Submit your questions to the RSI forum. We're doing a little bit different this time. We're trying to take themes, so we're more about the theme of what's going on. And join us for Wingman's Hangover 15 minutes after the show. It's a little informal, hard to believe. Look at, we just talk directly, Skype calls, things like that in chat roll. Join us 15 minutes after the show. Remember, if you want your stuff featured on Wingman's Hangar, send it in. We just might use it. We'll see you in the verse.
Hi, Wingman. This is B-Man, and I do have a question. And I understand you've been asked this hundreds of times.